Hello my friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Tori, and if you are new, I'm so happy that you're here. Welcome to Vlogmas 2021. Today we are going through my favorite books of the year. So we're just gonna get right into it. I'm gonna do, my top 5 favorite books, and then I also have 3 honorable mentions. So there will be 8 favorite books of 2021, and we're gonna start off with my absolute favorite that I read this year, which is The Chosen and the Beautiful by Nevo. This is a Great Gatsby retelling. It's told in the point of view of Jordan Baker, who is Daisy's best friend and a professional golfer in the 1920s. This book is magical. Even if you didn't love The Great Gatsby or you're not crazy about reading classics, this is completely reimagined. It's so beautiful. The perspective is so refreshing. She has a side that's completely unknown to everyone, and she also helps other people discover sides that are unknown as well. She kind of digs into people and knows them better than anyone else knows them. And it's such a stunning read. I cannot recommend this enough. And like I said, even if Great Gatsby isn't your most favorite book in the entire world, if you're not a huge reader of classics, pick this up. I think you will absolutely love it. What's really sad when I sat down to film this video is I only have 3 of these favorite books like in my collection. One of them I let someone borrow and I just haven't got it back yet, but the others I read all on my Kindle. So they're all ebooks and I have them, but I don't have physical copies, and I realized sitting down to film this video that I need to rectify that problem. So the next book that was my favorite of 2021 was A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. This is a Dracula retelling, or I guess it's kind of like a Dracula spin-off. I guess you could call it a Dracula retelling, but it's from the perspective of his brides, specifically Constanta. And it is so beautiful. There's definitely trigger warnings in this book. It's really a novella. It's super short. I want to say less than 300 pages, detailing an extremely toxic relationship with a narcissist. But it's an extremely beautiful story. It's heartbreaking, but it really details the strength that women have. It also has LGBTQIA representation in it. So does this one, which I'm obsessed with. It's so beautiful. I know a million people have mentioned A Dowry of Blood on Instagram and BookTube, but it is so worth the hype. Then we have Mexican Gothic. This is the one that I let one of my friends borrow.
My toxic trait is pushing my favorite books on my friends.
And so I was like, you have to read this. Here you go. Take it. I hope you love it. So it is what it is. I asked for it. So Mexican Gothic is such a beautiful Gothic horror novel. I read it in October. It was such a vibey read. If you are a mood reader like me and you like to create TBR lists in advance, add this to your October TBR list. We follow Naomi, again, a strong female main character. She has to go rescue her married cousin, who sends an emergency letter saying all of these crazy things, that her husband's family is keeping her captive and drugging her, and she's having like hallucinations and she's really sick. And so Naomi goes to this house that's super isolated, super secluded, a true Gothic mansion, and she has to figure out what is going on with this family, what's going on with her cousin, and it is not what you think is gonna happen. That book is a wild ride. It is very, the horror is very like grotesque, but in a very unique and interesting way that will make you not want to put the book down. It is very aesthetic. It describes the creepy Gothic mansion or manor in great detail. It describes all of the characters in great detail. You feel like you're in the room with the characters watching the scene unfold. That's how well everything is described. The next book is The 10,000 Doors of January by Alex E. Harrow. This is a very recent read. I just finished this month in December and fell in love with it so quickly. My opinion, going into this knowing very little is the best way to approach this book. I had read some descriptions of it, but none of them really made a lot of sense. So I felt like I was coming into this book not knowing too much, and that was the best way to read this book, honestly. It is very, very Alice in Wonderland vibes. Pick this up, read it, let me know what you think about it. I'm absolutely obsessed, and I am going to read all of Alex E. Harrow's books after reading this one. I'm obsessed with her writing style. So descriptive, very poetic, and just absolutely stunning. And the number 5 absolute top book of the year for me, and this isn't just this first book, it's the entire series, is the An Ember in the Ashes series. So I've read books 1 to 3 so far. I still have the 4th book to read. This is considered a young adult fantasy. However, I think this could appeal to absolutely any age. The emotion, the character depth, the absolutely insane plot story or plot line is honestly unbelievable. This is also such an easy fantasy book to read. The world building in this is extremely seamless. You will never feel overwhelmed because in this book, it's tied into the story and it's tied into when you're getting to know the characters. There's no like fantasy world building dump right in the beginning of the book. That never happens. Easy read in the sense that you don't have to think too hard about the world and what's going on, but difficult to read in terms of the emotion that is in this book. The things that happen, you will be so stressed out for these characters. And it doesn't stop with the first book. It is like every single book that you pick up, you are so stressed and so emotional with these characters. The topics that this book covers is not lighthearted by any means. Now onto my 3 honorable mentions for 2021. My top 5 are my absolute standouts, like the ones that it felt like a piece of my heart was discovered in those books. These other 3 books I love without a doubt. My reading experience was phenomenal and I loved them. It's just a little bit different, you know? Okay. The first honorable mention is If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. I loved this book very, very much. This was my first dark academia book, and I think I just loved the Shakespeare vibes. I loved the characters. It has LGBTQIA rep in it, and it's a mystery. So it's like a dark academia. It's very, very aesthetic and atmospheric, but you're trying to solve this mystery that happened so long ago through the main character's retelling of what happened. And it is just, again, very emotional, so incredibly heartbreaking. Now, I've heard mixed reviews on this book. People say that this book is extremely similar to The Secret History by Donna Tartt. Haven't read that yet. This was the first book, again, my first dark academia book, and I hadn't heard of The Secret History. Now I am very, very curious to read The Secret History and then compare the two and see how they match up. In 2022, my goal is to read The Secret History and we will compare and contrast the two. I think that will be super fun. Next honorable mention is Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas. I read this book very early in the year. This was the first book that I read by Sarah J. Maas last month in November and then into December this month. I started reading the ACOTAR series. Controversial opinion, Crescent City is so much better. The character relationships, the slow burn, the urban fantasy too, I think really, really appealed to me because I think for me, the like whimsical fae world that we kind of get in the ACOTAR series is just, it's starting to feel extremely overdone. And so reading Crescent City was new and refreshing. It was my first urban fantasy that I read as well. I think that Sarah J. Maas's writing style is evolving, and Crescent City was her newest release at the time. And so when I read that first and compared it to her past writing in the ACOTAR series, I just thought that Crescent City was so much better because Sarah J. Maas as a writer is continuing to develop and hone her skills. And so that's why I think that the story was crafted much stronger and had a better structure than the ACOTAR series. That being said, I still haven't read A Court of Silver Flames, and I know that that's a favorite for a lot of people, so keep that in mind. My last honorable mention, the Carball series. I put on my list Carball specifically. I think that I loved the entire series as a whole, do not get me wrong, I loved it, but if I had to pick my favorite book from that series, it was Carball. And I also think that you could read Carball, just that one book, as a standalone. You don't necessarily have to go into Legendary and Finale. Stephanie Garber's writing is like modern fairy tales. She is so whimsical, so beautiful. The suspense in her writing is insane. Insane. Every chapter you get a cliffhanger, and so you have to read the book in one sitting. At least I did. I'm very guilty of that. I couldn't stop. There was not one chapter that didn't end on a cliffhanger, and if you had to put the book down, you were just like non-stop thinking about what was gonna happen next in that book. Such a fun reading experience, but honestly, like, I couldn't think about anything else until I finished that book. I had to like put it down to go to work, and when I'm at work, I'm like useless because all I'm thinking about is what's gonna happen next. Modern fairy tale, super whimsical, super ethereal, and just like magical, but it has a lot of dark elements to it as well. Those are my top 8 books of 2021. They were my absolute favorites. If you've read any of them, if you loved any of them, if any of these are your favorite books, please leave them down below. If you have any book recommendations off of this video, if you think that you have a book that I would like, please leave that down below as well. Love getting book recommendations. If you liked this video, please be sure to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel to see more. We still have 2 more days of Bookmas left, and they're gonna be awesome. So I hope to see you there. I'll see you in my next video. Bye!